If you've ever been haunted by something so deeply it consumed your very reason, then you'll understand Captain Ahab. And if you've ever looked at nature and seen it as both beautiful and terrifying, then you'll understand why Moby Dick is more than just a novel. It's a symphony about humanity, about fate, and about the questions that have no answers. The story begins with a simple yet haunting introduction. Call me Ishmael. Ishmael is a young, lonely man, weary of life on land. He decides to set out to sea, not for money or fame, but driven by a vague urge, a search for something beyond the ordinary. He arrives at the port of New Bedford, where whaling ships are preparing to sail. There, Ishmael meets Queequeg, a Polynesian islander powerfully built, his face covered in tattoos, yet with a kind heart and deep wisdom. They become close friends and board the Pequod together, a legendary whaling ship commanded by Captain Ahab. Ahab does not appear right away. As the ship leaves port, he remains hidden in his cabin like a ghost. But when he finally emerges, every eye is drawn to his limping gait and his burning stare. Ahab had lost a leg in a previous encounter with a massive white whale, Moby Dick. Since then, he has lived consumed by obsession, hatred, and a mad desire for revenge. He does not hunt whales for oil. He hunts Moby Dick to destroy it, to prove that he can conquer fate, even God himself if need be. Ahab rallies his crew, promising gold to the first man who spots the white whale. Yet not everyone is swept up in his fury. Starbuck, the rational first mate, warns that this is madness, but his words are like whispers drowned out by the roaring sea. The Pequod drifts across distant oceans. Ishmael records everything, the techniques of whaling, the philosophical reflections on life, death, and the universe. He is not just a narrator, but an observer, a thinker. They encounter other ships, whose sailors tell of their own brushes with Moby Dick. Each tale only fuels Ahab's obsession. He is no longer a captain, but a man possessed, dragging his crew into a doomed pursuit. At last, after months at sea, they find Moby Dick. The white whale rises from the ocean like a colossal phantom. The battle rages for 3 days. Ahab hurls himself at it with all his hatred, but Moby Dick will not be subdued. It smashes the Pequod, sending it to the depths. Only Ishmael survives. Clinging to a coffin repurposed as a lifeboat, he drifts alone until another ship rescues him. He becomes the sole witness to tell this tale, a story of obsession, of humanity, and of a white whale. Moby Dick is not just a whale, it is the embodiment of evil, of fate, of the universe's indifference. To Ahab, it is an enemy that must be destroyed. To Ishmael, it is an unfathomable mystery. To readers, it may be pure nature, God, or the very fears within ourselves. Melville never defines Moby Dick outright, and that is what makes it such a powerful symbol. It is a mirror reflecting what lies within us. When we look at Moby Dick, we don't just see a whale, we see ourselves. Ahab is a modern Prometheus, daring to challenge the divine, only to be destroyed by his own ambition. He cannot accept being wounded by a mindless creature. He craves revenge, control, victory, but that obsession blinds him, dragging his ship and crew to their deaths. Ahab is more than a character. He is a symbol of humanity consumed by power, ego, and the need for absolute control. He is a warning. When obsession takes the helm, we lose everything, even ourselves. Nature in Moby Dick is majestic, cold, and unpredictable. Humanity, with its ships, weapons, and reason, is still small before the ocean and its creatures. Melville shows that when humans try to dominate nature, they fail. Nature is not an enemy, but a force beyond our comprehension. And when we confront it with arrogance, we are drowned. Ishmael is not just a storyteller, he is a philosopher, a seeker. Throughout the journey, he raises questions about good and evil, about God, about existence itself. Why does Moby Dick exist? Is God indifferent? Can humanity ever truly understand the universe? The novel is filled with passages of philosophy, theology, and mystery. It offers no answers, only an invitation to reflect. Moby Dick is not a book to be solved, it is a book to be felt, to be lived with, to be haunted by. And that is the story of Moby Dick, of a white whale, a mad captain, and a lone survivor left to tell it all. But in truth, it is also our story, about the things we chase, the fears we cannot name, and the journeys whose ends we cannot foresee. If this video made you think, if it made you reflect on yourself, then you've touched the spirit of Moby Dick. This is not just a novel. It is an inner voyage, a dialogue between humanity and the unknown. What literary work would you like me to analyze next? Leave a comment.